June 12, 2026. The biggest World Cup in history, 104 matches, 16 host cities, 48 nations, kicks off across the United States and Mexico. This is the tournament FIFA spent years building toward, the expanded format, the record broadcasting deals, the unprecedented commercial partnerships. And on day one, two matches tell two completely different stories about what this tournament actually is. Estadio Azteca, Mexico versus South Africa. 80,824 fans packed into one of football's most iconic venues. Shakira opens the ceremony. Mexico equalizes late. The noise is deafening. The drama is real. It is everything a World Cup opener should be: passion, history, spectacle. Then the cameras switch to Guadalajara, South Korea versus Czechia, VIP areas visibly vacant. Broadcast-facing stands with empty sections clearly visible to every television viewer on the planet. The Mirror runs the headline immediately, and every football fan on Earth sees it at the same time. That image, those empty seats, becomes the defining photograph of day one of the 2026 FIFA World Cup. How does the biggest World Cup in history have empty seats on day one? The answer begins with pricing, but it does not end there. In June 2026, just weeks before the tournament began, FIFA quietly slashed ticket prices across all 104 matches. This came after months of FIFA publicly defending its pricing as a reflection of, in their words, unprecedented demand. But even after those cuts, even after the resale market had already collapsed, the seats were still empty. To understand why, you have to go back to what happened between October 2025 and April 2026. During that window, FIFA raised prices on more than 90 of the tournament's 104 matches, an average increase of 34%. Fans who had bought early, who had planned trips, who had made financial commitments based on original pricing, they were already locked in. FIFA's terms were ironclad from the beginning. No refund mechanism existed. Those early buyers were now holding non-refundable tickets worth less than face value on the open market. The resale situation became its own scandal. FIFA's own official resale platform charged a 15% fee from both the buyer and the seller, meaning the organization profited on every secondary transaction while the original purchaser absorbed the loss. A single ticket to the final was listed at over $2 million. Category 1 seats for the final were starting at $10,990. The numbers were not aspirational, they were exclusionary. The New York and New Jersey attorneys general issued formal subpoenas to FIFA over the ticketing practices. The hospitality sector, which had been anticipating a summer of historic revenue, reported something entirely different. FIFA released 70% of its block-booked hotel rooms as the tournament approached. An industry survey described the summer as a non-event. The infrastructure built around the expectation of record tourism simply did not materialize. But pricing is only half the explanation. Four nations whose fans could not enter the host country, Iran, Haiti, Cote d'Ivoire, and Senegal, their supporters, regardless of financial capacity, faced travel restrictions that made attendance physically impossible. Iran has the most unsold tickets of any team in the tournament. The Iranian Football Federation publicly accused FIFA of revoking their ticket allocation. FIFA offered no public response. The access problem extended far beyond those four nations. Fans from 75 countries faced halted visa processing in the months leading up to the tournament. Planning a trip, flights, accommodation, tickets requires logistical certainty. When visa processing stops, that certainty disappears. The trip doesn't get planned. European flight bookings to the tournament were running 14% below the same period last year, despite the dollar being 12% weaker against the euro, which should have made travel cheaper for European fans. The economic conditions were more favorable. The bookings were lower anyway. These fans were not staying home for financial reasons. They were making a decision about access and safety. One moment crystallized exactly what that decision looked like in practice. Omar Abdul-Kadir Artan, FIFA's own selected referee for the tournament, voted the best referee in Africa in 2025, arrived at Miami International Airport. He was stopped. He was questioned for 11 hours. He was denied entry into the host country. FIFA's official response to the situation was the following: "We are not involved in host country immigration processes." That statement, that exact phrase, apply it to every empty seat in Guadalajara. FIFA selected the host country. FIFA negotiated the hosting agreement. FIFA built the commercial and logistical infrastructure around that country. And when their own appointed official was turned away at the border, their position was that immigration was not their concern. If it is not their concern for a referee they personally selected, it is not their concern for the 75 countries whose fans couldn't process visas in time. Empty seats at World Cups are not new. Let's be precise about that. South Africa 2010, Greece versus South Korea, thousands of empty seats. FIFA launched a formal investigation. The conclusion placed blame on corporate no-shows, ticket holders from sponsor packages who simply didn't travel. Russia 2018, Egypt versus Uruguay, official attendance recorded at 27,015 in a stadium with 33,000 seats. FIFA stated they were investigating. Qatar 2022. Multiple group stage matches had visibly empty sections. Argentina versus France, considered by many analysts to be among the greatest World Cup finals ever played, was contested in front of a stadium that was not full. Empty seats have existed before, that is documented fact. But 2026 is categorically different, and that distinction matters. In 2010, the empty seats were attributed to transportation failures and corporate no-shows, problems that existed within FIFA's operational system but were not caused by FIFA's pricing decisions. In 2022, the unique geographic, cultural, and logistical context of Qatar was used as the framework for explanation. In 2026, the pricing model was designed by FIFA. It was defended by FIFA. The 34% average price increase was implemented by FIFA. The resale platform taking 15% from both parties was FIFA's platform. The access failures for 75 countries occurred while FIFA publicly insisted demand was unprecedented. The empty seats in Guadalajara are not a side effect of the system FIFA built, they are the output of it. There is a specific cruelty to where those seats were empty. The sections that showed the most visible vacancy were the VIP areas, the most expensive seats in the stadium, positioned in the most prominent broadcast-facing locations. The sections occupied by fans who had made sacrifices to be there, who had found a way through the pricing and the access barriers, were the fuller ones. Football atmospheres are built from the bottom up. The noise, the color, the energy that makes the sport what it is on a global stage, those things come from supporters. When pricing and access barriers systematically remove those supporters and replace them with hospitality packages and corporate allocations, the result is not atmosphere. The result is Guadalajara. The cameras broadcast it to the entire world. Where does this tournament go from now? Historically, early group stage matches carry the lowest attendance figures at any World Cup. As the knockout rounds approach, as stakes increase, attendance typically improves. The final at MetLife Stadium will almost certainly be full. Quarterfinals and semifinals at major venues have sufficient commercial and sporting demand to fill regardless of broader access issues. The football itself, as Day One demonstrated, remains extraordinary. The players competing in Guadalajara gave everything regardless of what was in the stands behind them. Mexico's late equalizer at Azteca was genuine sporting drama. But the worst-case scenario over the next 6 weeks is that Guadalajara repeats. That fixtures involving African, Asian, and Middle Eastern national teams, the teams most affected by visa denials and travel restrictions, consistently show empty sections. That the cumulative visual record of this tournament becomes a series of wide-angle broadcast shots showing unfilled seats. FIFA's options at this point are structurally limited. The pricing model is locked in. The access barriers are, by their own statement, not their responsibility. The Attorney General investigation is ongoing. The hotel rooms won't fill retroactively. The visa processing timeline has already determined who could and could not attend. All FIFA has left is the football. On June 12, 2026, two things were simultaneously true. The Azteca was magnificent. 80,824 people generated the kind of atmosphere that reminds the world why this sport exists. South Korea and Czechia competed in Guadalajara with complete professional commitment regardless of what surrounded them. And the infrastructure surrounding both matches, the pricing decisions, the access failures, the Attorney General subpoenas, the referee stopped at the border, the 15% resale fees, the 34% price increases, the 70% hotel room release, the 75 countries with halted visa processing, that infrastructure was built by FIFA, defended by FIFA, and profited FIFA. The question for the next 6 weeks is simple. Which story does the tournament produce more of, the Azteca or Guadalajara? That answer will be determined not by what FIFA says in press releases. It will be determined by what the cameras show when they pan across the stands in Houston, Kansas City, Seattle, and New York over the next 37 days. 3 questions worth considering. Does the Guadalajara image feel like a one-day problem, or is it the defining visual of this entire tournament? Given the 34% price increases, the 75 countries with blocked visa processing, and the 11-hour detention of FIFA's own appointed referee, will FIFA ever formally acknowledge what caused those empty seats? And can the football itself, which on day one was genuinely remarkable, rescue the narrative that FIFA's own commercial decisions have already written?